Greetings, it's Kimberly Sherry, International Energy Healer, helping you lead a life of wealth without worry. Welcome to Friday's Inspiration. It's Friday here in Australia, and I usually try to do this at 11:11. Close enough. Today I want to talk about something that is affecting a lot of people, and it's a difference between being unmotivated versus being depressed. So there's a lot of people that are depressed. Hey, Jasmine. There's a lot of people who are depressed and a lot of people who are unmotivated. And then there's others who think, well, what's the difference? The end result is the same. I can't get shit done. And so there is a big difference, though. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today, so you could know the difference and see kind of what applies to you. So if you're unmotivated, that's generally because you don't have a big enough why. Like, you don't have a big enough reason to inspire you. And sometimes, hey Bree, sometimes we will pick something to motivate us, but it's only short term. Like, maybe we wanted to get into a bathing suit for a vacation, or maybe we want to lose some weight for our wedding dress, and that'll get us to that goal, but it's really not sustainable. So we need sometimes even bigger reasons than that to really motivate us long term, although some of those kinds of motivations will get the short term. And then sometimes it might get us into enough of a habit that we can be motivated for the long term. There is a difference, though, between just not having a big enough why as the reason you're not motivated and being depressed. And the reason that I'm addressing this is because a lot of people will just do an external thing to motivate them. Maybe they'll just drink more coffee, or maybe they'll turn to drugs, or maybe eat a bunch of sugary things to kind of perk them up. And of course, none of those things will resolve your deeper issues. Those are all temporary fixes. So it's more important to discover if you are indeed depressed. And because depression is actually pushed down anger. And if also generally being or feeling powerless will go along with that. So if you're not feeling powerful and you're feeling angry about something, but it doesn't feel like there's anything you can do about it, that's going to create depression. And for some people, just right now living on the planet is enough to make you depressed, because people don't feel like there's anything that they can do about what they see going on. But I did want to address this. Hey, Jasmine. I did want to address this because there are so many people who are struggling with low-grade depression, or and it may just come off as feeling motivated. I'm not motivated. I'm tired. I'm just not inspired. So I wanted to share just a little example, or a story of something that happened with a client just the other day. So a client contacted me because they were feeling unmotivated, and they just were wondering how to get past that. So we had a session, and what I discovered was that, and so I immediately decided, or could tell, that this was depression as opposed to just not being motivated. And so how did I decide that? Well, I looked through his energy field and found a place where there was a lot of anger, but there wasn't that outward display of anger. So that means that was anger that was pushed down, making this person feel depressed or unmotivated was kind of the end result. And so as we kind of worked through this, we also discovered some places where they were feeling powerless. And so as we worked through a bunch of the stuff, also this person revealed that they had an issue with like a drug issue. And so that was their way of trying to get motivated. And so then we looked for some triggers and discovered that the reason that this person would turn to the drugs is because, well, they called it being bored, but what this person noticed was that, you go along and then you start having a feeling. You don't really even recognize what the feeling is, but you just don't want to feel that feeling anymore. And so in this case, he was turning to drugs to alter the way he was feeling. And so once we discovered some of these underlying reasons, and this person didn't want to do the drugs anymore, they wanted to not have that be their motivation. And so as a result of working through all these different energies, towards the end, they were feeling kind of antsy and anxious, and a lot of energy starting to move through. So that was a good thing, because you can't push this stuff down. It's got to come up and out. So as a result, they were starting to feel a little more motivated, but not enough to use this energy to go on a run or to go exercise, because that's a really great way to start channeling some of this push down anger, is to exercise, and in this case he wasn't quite motivated to do that much, so we decided that it would probably be better just to go for a walk. Maybe you could take your dog for a walk and move some energy that way. So the end result was that the following day, this person texted me and said, I feel highly motivated now and a whole new level of energy. So this is what happens when you get to the bottom of stuff and you really work these energies from a much deeper place. And so that's what I'm an expert at, is discovering and deciding. Hang on, I feel like I'm dealing with both, and I'm not busy enough to get my brain on something positive. Yeah, it's an ongoing problem, which is why I wanted to bring this up. People feel unmotivated and depressed, and so that's why it's really important to get to the bottom of the anger. And far too many people, like when I first discovered even my own anger, when I discovered I could measure this, I discovered mine was at 50%, but I didn't think of myself as an angry person. So most people are walking around with this 50% anger. They don't recognize it as anger because they're not yelling and screaming at somebody. That's generally when your anger is 95, 100%. But this lower grade anger is felt more as like annoyance, irritation, frustration, easily pissed off, but not angry, so they don't recognize it as an angry energy. But it's still anger, it's just the volume has been turned down. But either way, it's an energy that is the opposite of abundance and of flow, and all the more reason that we bring that anger all the way down to zero. Now that doesn't mean you can't ever get angry. You always have access to your anger, but then you're only going to use it when you really need it. And then you're not going through life always frustrated, just a little bit edgy and annoyed and frustrated. So, incredible insight coming through here. Thanks. Fantastic. The way you see through the superficial. Yes, that's the beauty of being able to see things on an energetic level. So that's kind of my expertise, and my feeling a little more advanced in being able to see, and this is where the numbers have really helped me to accelerate where I am. So I have a gift of being able to measure everything, anything, but it's something that anybody can do. And so this is why I'm writing this book that I'm in the process of doing right now. It's called Access Your Ultimate Power, the Blueprint to Infinite Intelligence. So when you're accessing your infinite intelligence, then you can see all these things that I'm talking about. You'll be able to know the difference because you're looking at energy, and then you can be neutral to the energy instead of judging yourself, or these are just observations. And hey, Lakshmi, good to have you here. I'm coming home in a couple weeks, by the way. Oh, so for those of you in the Bay Area, I'm I will be coming back to the San Francisco Bay Area on the 11th, and it's only going to take me 35 minutes to get home, which is kind of a bizarre thing. I'll be going home for 19 hours, but on the clock I'll be home 35 minutes later. That's like just really bizarre. Yes, everybody needs my book, sorry. And it's really insightful because it's going to lay out how you can assess these things for yourself and how you can start accessing your infinite intelligence so that you can know what's going on in your body. Like, far too many people have given up their seniority about what's going on in here. Like, they go to the doctors and they want the doctors to figure everything out instead of, like, we know what's really best for ourselves and our bodies, but we think, oh, the doctors know more. Yes, Lakshmi, well, I'll do my best. We'll see each other. So yeah, giving up your seniority to the doctors often, and that's not to say you shouldn't work with doctors. It's just that we should be listening to the signals that are going on in our body long before something major happens. Because you know, that little knock on the door is trying to tell you something, but we ignore it. We ignore it. We ignore it until it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, until it finally just kicks the door in, and you're either in the hospital or you have now some really chronic problem, health problem. So this is all just one part of, you know, listening to our bodies and what's going on. And in this book, I also discuss all the reasons we've been out of touch with that, why we've been pushing all this down. Yes, yeah, I think it's good to work with doctors and get those tests, Lakshmi, and then you know exactly what's going on. So this is not like an either or. This is like, use these two together so that you can know where you're at. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today, was the difference between being unmotivated and being depressed. Because if you're depressed, if your lack of motivation is caused by being depressed, all the sugar and coffee and cocaine in the world is not going to fix that. You know, you have to get to the bottom of these things and let go of all of that anger. So if there's any of you out there who are interested in having a private session, I know that a lot of people wonder, well, how is that? How do we do that? How is it possible? The first thing that you would need to do is get a personal vibrational temperature report, and then I know where you are, you know where you are, and that's the starting point. And it comes with a 30-minute session with me to get all your questions answered, and it's only $49. So that's really totally worth it to find out what you're where you're at. When will my book be available? Once I finish writing it. So I had high hopes of getting it done this month, but this month is already over. Look at this. That's how fast things are moving right now. So when will the book be available? I'm about a third of the way through getting this book together, and so I'm just going to keep plugging away, working at it, and stay tuned. I'll let you know when it's ready, and it's going to be really amazing. Boudoir of the Goddess. Lakshmi, you're so funny. All right, friends. Well, pay attention to what's going on in your body, and if you're depressed, discover where that anger is in your body. And if you want to know, this Sunday, actually, I'm doing my global Q&A. So that's a chance to get on the phone. And if you've never done this before, it's free for the first month of this. It's part of a membership. But you can get on the phone and ask me a question. Ask me, like, if you're depressed, I can help you find out where it is and why. And we can just do a little bit of really focused stuff. Jasmine, yeah, private message me and I'll send you, well, actually, I'm going to post the link to the vibrational temperature report. That would be the first place to start. And then we go from there. All right, friends, hope you enjoy your weekend, and you know, don't delay in getting things done. Look how, like, this first month is already over. Doesn't it feel like we were just celebrating New Year's Eve and now the first month is over? So don't delay if there's things that you want to get done, because time is speeding up. And before you know it, I will be back next Friday giving you more inspiration. And so wishing you a blessed weekend and week. And until we meet again, namaste. All right, much love, friends.